Once again, welcome to the commemoration of 502nd anniversary of the Philippine part in the first circumnavigation of the world. To give the welcome remarks, we have the Vice Governor of Eastern Samar, Maria Caridad S. Gutisan. Let's give her a round of applause.
Damo nga salamat. Ang akong paghataghan respeto, ang aton mga congressmen nga niya na. Congressman Jonathan Clement M. Avalos, Congresswoman Maria Fe R. Abunda, our ever-active Mayor of Guiuan, Mayor Annalisa G. Guiuan, Vice Mayor Veronica Cabacaba Ramirez, the councilors, the barangay captains of Ngolos and Salangan, Kapitan Tamtam Sumoray and Kapitan Labutap, and mga kagawad nga haniyana. We also have the presence of Lieutenant Colonel Alan Tria, Police Lieutenant Colonel Junicio Maestri, Chief Inspector Lino Asombrado, Colonel Hanolino, and our historian, Dr. Rolando Borinaga, mga bisitas, ikasiko taga Guiuan, maupay nga aga haaton nga tanan. I am honored and privileged to represent our Governor, Governor Ben Ibardoni, and the people of Eastern Samar in this memorable occasion. 502 years ago, the Philippine part in the first circumnavigation of the world happened in these very shores. The first contact of the Filipinos and the Spaniards happened here. We call this the humanity in homonhon. That just shows how kind the people in this island are. And I am very proud to come from this place. I can say that with kindness, this is coupled with happiness. And the people of Eastern Samar are a bunch of happy people. So whatever storms we may encounter, we always manage to get up because it is already in us, it is in our mind and in our hearts, the will to survive. So whatever may come, we still manage to face people with a smile and say, we are survivors. And I can say it was because we from Eastern Samar never ever forget to work hand in hand with each other, doing this for us, for everyone. We will, in behalf of Eastern Samar and Governor Ben Ibardoni, welcome to this memorable occasion. Maupay nga aga, haaton nga tanan. Honorable Jonathan Clement Avalos, the Assistant Minority Floor Leader, representative of 4-piece party list, the Honorable Maria Fe Arabunda, our very own representative of the Lone District of Eastern Samar. I would just like to recognize Governor Ben P. Ibardoni, represented here by our very own beautiful Vice Governor Maria Caridad Sison Gotisan, members of the Provincial Board, of course, my very supportive Vice Mayor of the Municipality of Guiuan, Vice Mayor Veronica Cabacaba Ramirez, and equally ever supportive members of the Sangguniang Bayan of Guiuan, the barangay captains of the Municipality of Guiuan, particularly Ngolos. I see Honorable Tamtam Somoray and Honorable Cesar Labutap of Sulangan. Police Colonel Junicio Maestre of the Philippine National Police, the Deputy Provincial Director, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, represented here by Lieutenant Colonel Alan Tria, LGU department heads, teachers, students, and of course, our guests, historian, Dr. Rolando Borinaga, who is instrumental para mahibalik ang balang higabels nga niya aton Eastern Samar. Mga hinigugma ko nagiwananon, men in uniform, people from the media, hayo nga tanan, maupay nga aga. We are gathered here again to commemorate the 502nd anniversary of one of the world's most momentous occasion in the history of the world. The first circumnavigation of the world. Ang primero nga pakalibot han kalibutan hintaw. This is our third year of conducting commemorative events in this particular place. The Samar historical marker, marking the route of Magellan in the Philippines. The first Magellan's route historical marker in the Philippine archipelago that symbolizes the sighting of Samar Island. This is our third year in this place, but we have been commemorating the landing of Magellan for many, many years. This led me to reflect on our commemorations. Kay ano naging sisilibrar ta ini nga event? Why do we celebrate and commemorate the sighting of Samar, the anchoring in Suluan, and Philippine-Spanish contact in Homonhon? Ano nga ni ang aton ginsisilibrar? What are we celebrating? Is it the quote-unquote the discovery of these islands by one of the world's most important explorers? Is it the foreign explorers themselves? Is it Ferdinand Magellan? Or what he brought to us? What he initiated? What he started? Or is it the role that these islands and her people played in the global historical stage? Are we celebrating our ancestors and their deeds? In the lead-up to the 2021 Quincentennial commemorations, the world readied itself to honor this major feat in history. Numerous preparations were made across the world. Labi na didto han mga ginagian han expedition han mga barko ni Magellan ngan Juan Sebastian Elcano. They made arrangements to highlight not only the expedition's achievements, but also the men themselves who achieved these things. Different countries and different localities celebrated different things. Spain celebrated the entire expedition itself. After all, their king, Charles I, funded it all while emphasizing the role of the Spanish crew and Juan Sebastian Elcano, Magellan's second in command, who actually led the completion of the circumnavigation after Magellan's death in Cebu. Others chose to celebrate the achievements, the discovery of a westward route towards the Spice Islands, the birth of a new map of the world, and a relatively complete star chart which helps navigators both inland and on sea find their ways around. They also discovered a group of islands they had transformed into the Philippines, and in the process, Christianized and westernized the East. But what did our ancestors achieve along with these great and magnificent things? Ano ang amo han aton mga tulin, han aton mga kaapoy-apuyan, han pre-colonial Filipino? That is what the Philippine government, through the National Quincentennial Committee, thought about. What do we as Filipinos commemorate? Because of the Filipino-centric mindset in the planning of how our country ought to commemorate, there was an essential addition and shift in our commemorations. We put equal importance, if not more, in celebrating our own ancestors, not just Magellan or his landing in our shores, as we usually do in the past. To give a concrete illustration, for many years, the mural painting at the Magellan's landing site in Humonhon only depicted the landing of Magellan and his crew. Puros dito hagtaas ang irong ditohan mural, mga Espanyol. There was not even a single native or Filipino in the picture. So in 2021, the province of Eastern Samar and the local government unit of Guiuan thought to change the painting to also include our own ancestors. Kinbulig na hira dito. If you go to Humonhon, itong mural, bulig na ang aton mga Pilipino, kasi mga taga-Suluan. What makes our ancestors and by way of inheritance make us today great? One simple but equally valuable and great thing. It is kindness and humanity. Asyan era ginbilin haton. All of you know the story. We have been telling this. Magellan, Elcano, and his crew had just crossed the vast Pacific Ocean you see behind us for 100 days. Ito niya na ang dinidirinsyo ng Pacific Ocean at yung kikita. Before Pacific Ocean did not know, nobody knew that it existed. They were weak, the Magellan's crew, they were weak, starving, sick, dying. They were eating rats and sawdust. Their last human contact was in Guam, but they encountered conflict with the islanders. When they spotted land at last, our beloved home, Samar Island, they saw hope and salvation. Then they went south and spotted our beautiful tiny island of Suluan. But they saw people there and decided to leave them alone, perhaps remembering the conflict in Guam. The following day, they decided to land in Humonhon, which according to Pigafetta was uninhabited. It was empty of people but full of resources they needed. The clearest waters, food, and rest, they landed safe at last. At this point enters our ancestors, ambag or amot to the world, an aton hatag parahan kalibutan. Remember the ancient people of Suluan that they previously saw. Well, the ancient Suluanon saw the crew as well. Whether by bravery or just plain curiosity, they decided to check them out and visit them. Nanginano ang aton mga kabugtuan na Suluan. At first, contact with the foreigners, Pegafetta recorded that our ancestors showed signs of joy. And when they discovered that the foreigners needed help, we offered it readily. We gave them food and friendship. Do we recognize that? Esteemed guests, I am asking that because Guiuananons and Istihanons can immediately relate to that. Batasan ininaton, mga taga din niya Guiuan, mga Istihanon. That is our normal day-to-day behavior. We are always ready to help people, even those that we do not know. Hiara kita manginano, batasan natin pagsiring, nangaon na kamo, kad na pangaon kita. Asya gud permit aton gin tatapo iton aton mga bisita. For 502 years or more until today, we are known all around the world for this unique hospitality and care for others. This became the heart of the quincentennial ceremonies, especially here in Guiuan. We recognize the value of Magellan and his crew, but we should also recognize our ancient forebears, their kindness, their humanity, and their valor, things we ought to preserve within us today. This, to me, is a worthy thing to commemorate. We are here to root ourselves in our history, to remind ourselves of what makes the best of us, and preserve the values that have been passed on from our previous generations for more than 500 years. As the leader of this humble town, it gives me pride that this is part of my heritage. As a Guiuananon and an Istihanon, I hope you find pride in this too. Damo na salamat, hayo nga tanan.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mayor Annalisa Gonzalez Guiuan, for inspiring us all. For another inspirational message, let us welcome Ma'am Eloisa Banan Gonzalez, the representative of Congressman Marcelino Nonoy Libanan, leader and 4P party list representative. Mayor Annalisa Gonzalez Guiuan, Congresswoman Maria P. Abunda, Congressman Jonathan Clement Abalos, Governor Ben P. Iberdone, represented by our Vice Governor, Ricardo Pisan, the Sangguniang Bayan, other distinguished guests, good morning to everyone. Congressman Marcelino Libanan is sending his apologies for not being able to come to you today for an important matter. Also, Chief Gonzalez was supposed to represent him today, but since they are together for an equally important matter, they had to send me. But in light of this, I have to read the message of Congressman Libanan. On March 16, 1521, when the Philippines was discovered by Magellan, those are the opening lines of Yoyoy Villame song Magellan, a song which almost every Filipino knows by heart. The song, of course, is a simplified version of history. In the first place, we're not yet named the Philippines. Second, what would later be called the Philippines had already been trading with the Chinese and the Muslims long before March 16, 1521. History is even more interesting than the song. In fact, if we go through the life of Ferdinand Magellan, one gets the feeling that his biography would make an epic that would put master and commander the far side of the world to shame. Reading through Magellan's biography, there are, to my mind, 3 lessons that we can learn. One which I call the Magellan formula for success. Simply put, knowledge and skills plus true grit plus luck equals success. Before Ferdinand Magellan set forth on this historical circumnavigation of the world, he first learned his skills as navigator by enlisting with the Portuguese Navy at the age of 25. Within 4 years, he would participate in one of the 6 greatest naval battles that changed the world, the Battle of Jiu, which marks the beginning of European dominance over the seas of Asia. He also participated in the capture of Malacca in 1511, reaching the Far East for the first time. Although by sailing west from Europe, passing through the Cape of Good Hope in Africa, Magellan's skills were not a flash in pain. They were honed by actual experience. Magellan had a true grit and iron will, coupled with a firm belief that there was another way to reach the Moluccas other than the routes already known. Rejected by the Portuguese king several times, he sought patronage for his expedition in Spain. His Spanish crew, resenting being led by the Portuguese, mutinied when they reached Argentina. The voyage, which he thought would only be 3 to 4 days, actually lasted 3 months and 20 days. In spite of this, Magellan persisted with an iron will. And here we find the third factor in the Magellan formula. Luck. We'll say it was also God was on the side of Magellan and his men. The crossing took place from November to March. As many Samareño worth his salt knows, this is the period known as Amihan, a wet season with unforgiving winds from the northeast of the Philippines. In fact, the 3 top destructive typhoons to have ever hit the Philippines occurred during Amihan. The Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, Typhoon Odette in 2021, and Typhoon Pablo in November 2012. No typhoon is recorded to have hit when the Pacific crossing took place. Thus, despite running out of supplies and losing 30 men, he finally reached Guam after provisioning, reached the Philippines by March 16. That luck would, however, end in the island of Mactan after battling Lapu-Lapu. Let me give an example of how Magellan formula applies in real life on this day. 16 March 2007, Republic Act number 9394, the Charter of the City of Borongan became law. This law was driving vision of its author, Representative Marcelino C. Libanan, a vision that commenced when he was still a seminarian at the Seminario de Jesus Nazareno in the in Borongan in the latter half of the 1970s. A lawyer and a politician, he guided the law through the legislative mills of Congress despite all odds. And with luck of God's will, the law passed the crucible of at least 5 reversals in the Supreme Court, herding all the obstacles cast by those objecting to the cityhood of Guiuan, of Borongan rather. We therefore see in Magellan's life the 3 factors for success: acquisition of knowledge and skills through experience, true grit, and iron determination driven by vision, and luck, or as some would call it, God's will. The combination of 3 is how we find, or more appropriately, how we make success. But most of all, Magellan's voyage underscores how people of different places in the world treat strangers. When Magellan first made landfall in Guam on March 6, 2021, the native inhabitants greeted the sore and hungry travelers not with open arms, food, and hospitality. Instead, in the words of the Chronicle Pigafetta, the natives climbed up the ships and stole whatever they could lay their hands on, including a boat tied to the ship Trinidad. This led them to call the island as Islas de los Ladrones, or the Islands of Thieves. In stark contrast, in the arrival of Magellan and his men in Humonhon, the island was uninhabited when they disembarked. But people from the neighboring islands, specifically the chiefs of Suluan, learned of the coming of the white men and came to welcome them with fish, coconut, honey, pig, fowls, tuba, as well as fruits and vegetables and other valuable gifts. The Spanish named the island as Nueva Providencia from the natives. Another name they would give the island is the Aquada de Libuno Señale, or the water of good signs, because they found 2 springs of clear water as well as the first signs of gold. Thus today, we mark not only the success of the Magellan formula, but also celebrate the legendary hospitality with which of the Suluan and Humonhon, by extension, the Filipino people greeted the strangers from an alien land speaking an unknown tongue. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Eloisa Libanan Gonzalez, and thank you as well to Congressman Nonoy Libanan. At this point, let us hear a keynote message from our guest of honor, Congresswoman Maria Fe R. Abunda.
My colleague in the House of Representatives, Congressman Abalos, J.C. Abalos, Governor BNP Bardoni, Vice Governor Maricar Sison Gopisan, Mayor Annalisa Kwan, Vice Mayor Veronica Kabagabama Ramirez, and our municipal councilors, Dr. Rolando Borinaca, anak-anakan Loisel Gonzalez, Colonel Alan Tria, Colonel Hanolino, Police Colonel Junicio Maestri, BFP Chief Inspector Leno Asombrado, our barangay captain Tamtam Cesar, ngan iba pa nga mga kapitanis nga anhiya na, mga empleyado sa LGU Guiuan, mga bisita, mga igkasiko istihanon nga tanan nga anhiya na, maupay nga oras sa aton nga tanan. Naklintang ko mga taga-media, all men and women in uniform. Today, we commemorate the 502nd anniversary of the Philippines and the first circumnavigation of the world. This event forms part of our rich history, diverse culture, and tradition that define who we are today. This commemoration also manifests our respect for those who have come before us, ang mga sakripisyo, nahan mga pagod. So, we become nation reflected of the past and make us able to look beyond the future. On behalf of the Long District of Eastern Samar, may I extend my gratitude to the National Quintennial Committee for overseeing this commemoration. Naniniwala po ako na tunay na mahalaga na babalik-balikan natin ang ating kasaysayan sa pamamagitan ng punto de vista ng ating mga manunulat at historiador para mas lalo natin maintindihan at makilala kung sino at ano tayo. Patunay po ang circumnavigation of the world sa yamang tinataglay ng ating bansa. Hindi lamang sa ating likas na yaman, kundi ang yaman ng ating kultura, tradisyon, pag-uugali at puso bilang Pilipino. Hoping to find a new route to the Far East to get spices, commodities traded like gold in Europe, launched the voyage that placed the Philippine Islands on the map and the pages of world history. The Spaniards did not only find a new rope, they also discovered something as precious aside from a new territory to colonize. They also uncovered the essence of the Istihanons they met in Humonhon. Doon nila nakilala at naramdaman ang malasakit na ipinadama ng ating mga ninuno. Sa ngayon, tinatawag ng ating mga historians na humanity in Humonhon. Noon pa man, likas na sa atin mga Eastern Samarinos at sa atin mga Pilipino ang pagiging makatao, kung saan bukal sa atin kalooban ang mabigay ng tulong at mga pangangailangan. This outstanding quality of compassion is an Istihanon signature, a mark long established by our ancestors and something we should all be very proud of then, now, and hopefully far into future generations. The God Tita's account has helped our historians understand better how the expedition influenced us in various things like our behaviors, our settlement patterns, and how we live our day-to-day lives. The other significant events that occurred in the Visayas, such as the introduction of Christianity, the Black Compact between Raja Colombo and Ferdinand Magellan, and the battle in Mactan, between Magellan and Lapu-Lapu's means speak much of our spiritual and political perspective. Atin pinagmamalaki ang kabaitan at malasakit sa atin mga ninuno. Pero dapat din tayong maging proud of the bravery, patriotism, and heroism of our ancestors. Despite inferiority in weapons, the Filipinos, led by Lapu-Lapu, defended their territory and beliefs in the battle we now refer to as the Battle of Mactan. Ang ipinakitang katapangan ng ating mga ninuno sa Mactan was the kind of bravery that helped establish this country identity and influence Filipino ancestral heroes and historical icons. What happened in Mactan? It is a refutable example that besides hospitality, Filipinos have the human instinct to defend our rights, particularly when compromised by any aggressor. Mahabang pintuhan ang kinakailangan para lubos natin malaman at maintindihan ang ating mga sarili bilang mga Pilipino. But looking back 500 years ago, we also have the Spaniards to thank for introducing Christianity. I believe most of us are guided by the teaching of religion na napaalala sa atin na mayroon tayong likas at mas mataas na kapangyarihan, a very significant factor in bringing order to our society, peace and respect for divine providence and humanity. As we commemorate this day, my ardent wish is for us to continue to instill in our younger generation the importance of learning the past. Let us all strive to make our young people appreciate the value of history para mas lalong tumibay at paggalang sa ating bayan, along with their love and appreciation of the innate qualities of our forebears. Maraming aral ang kapupulutan natin lahat mula sa kasaysayan, mula sa mga taong naninindigan at nakipaglaban para sa ating bayan, ang kagitingan ng ating mga ninuno para magkaroon tayo ng kasarinlan at ang buwis ng buhay para sa kalayaan. Higit sa lahat, pahalagan natin ang araw na ito. Dito kinilala ng buong mundo ang kabaitan at pagiging makatao ng ating mga ninuno. The accounts of Tiga Fita about our ancestors help the tired and sick sailors of the Magellan Elcano expedition at dapat natin ipagmalaki dahil ito ay parte ng kwento mo, kwento ko, at kwento ng bawat Pilipino. Pasalamatan natin ang mga manunulat na walang sawang inaaral at iniintindi ang mga bagay-bagay na bumubuo ng kwentong natin lahat. At habang patuloy ang pag-ikot ng panahon, patuloy na umiikot ang kwento ng bawat Pilipino. We are here today with pride in our hearts as we memorialize the deeds of our forefathers. It is a great honor to be with you all as we celebrate and commemorate this important day of history as we remember what transpired here 502 years ago. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas at mabuhay ang bawat Pilipino at mabuhay ang pagmamahal para sa bayang Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, our very own Congresswoman Maria Fe Abunda. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Congressman Jonathan Clement Abalos of the four-piece party list for his keynote message. Let's usher him in with a big round of applause.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Unang-una, gusto ko po magbigay-pugay sa ating Governor Ben Everdone, who is represented by our Vice Governor Maria Corredad Sison Gatisan. Good morning po. Would also like to acknowledge my esteemed colleague in Congress, Congresswoman Maria Fe Abunda. Good morning po. I would also like to acknowledge our Mayor, Annalisa Juan, as well as our Police Colonel Junicio Maistre, Vice Mayor Veronica Ramirez, Police Lieutenant Alan Tria, Chief Inspector Limo Asombrado, our historian who is with us right now, Dr. Rolando Borinaga, to our men in uniform, members of the Sangguniang Bayan, sa ating LGU officials at ng barangay officials. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Nandito po tayo ngayon upang magbalik tanaw sa 502nd anniversary ng unang pag-ikot sa daigdig. It was a momentous moment in history of not only our nation, but of the entire world. Our story as a nation and as one Filipino people is that of humanity. The world, as we know it, has changed greatly since the 18th century. Our country has been through a lot of challenges throughout history, lalo na po dito sa Guiuan. Alam naman po nating lahat na malalim ang kasaysayan rito. From pre-colonial times to the time of the Spanish, the Americans, and to this day, our people has weathered through a lot. Violence, global warming, typhoons, poverty, you name it. Yet, here we stand, nandito pa rin po tayo. Nagsusumikap upang mabigyan ng kinabukasan ang ating pamilya, ang ating bansa. Sama-sama po nating pinagdaanan ang ilang pagsusubok. Sama-sama rin po tayong bumangon at sinusubukang bumangon mula sa mga ito. Sabi nga po nila, history is the best teacher. At ang natutunan ko po sa ikatlong pagbisita ko rito ay ang kagitingan ng mga taga-Guiuan. I can sense and I can feel, thank you very much, I can sense and I can feel the attributes that we have inherited from our forefathers. And that is humanity, valor, and kindness, as said by our mayor a while ago. I may not be from here, but it is my third time to visit. History is important. Natutuwa po ako dahil kagabi nung pumunta ako sa ating plaza, nakita ko po ang whole of nation approach sa pag-preserve ng ating kultura. At yan po ang kultura ng pagpapakatao. Ang kultura ng humanity. Nariyan po ang kabataan natin na naghandog ng ilang performances na sino-showcase ang ating kasaysayan. Kaakibat sa success ng ating paggunita sa ating history ay ang local government unit. Kaakibat na ang police at ang military. As we all know, history has already been written. In this day of globalization and mass information, we have a responsibility to learn from the past and to preserve the lessons we have learned for future generations. Pinagpala po tayo ng kasaysayan. History forms part of what defines us as a people. What defines us further is how we rise and how we learn from the hardships that life brings us. Like I said a while ago, sama-sama po nating hinarap ang mga challenge na ito at sama-sama po tayong bumangon. But while we look back at our history today, it is likewise important to think about our future. The past has already been written, but now that we are here, let us be reminded that we also deserve the chance to write our own destiny, our own future as a nation. Ang bawat isa po sa atin ay may karapatang mangarap at makamit ang ating sariling destiny. Likas po ang pagiging makatao ng tiga-Guiuan. It is a God-given attribute endowed to us by our forefathers. It is the responsibility of the state to preserve it. Mahirap magpakatao para sa ikabubuti ng iba kung tayo po mismo ay hindi maalagaan ang ating sarili at ang ating sariling pamilya. Kaya nga po ako at ang 4-Piece Party List ay pabalik-balik po rito upang magbigyan ng tulong at mabigyan tayo ng magandang kinabukasan. I hope we learn from our history na nasa iisang bangka lamang po tayong lahat. Kung tumingin po kayo sa inyong kanan at sa inyong kaliwa, makikita niyo po may maganda, may gwapo, may maganda, may mas maganda, at may mas gwapo rin. Pero lahat po tayo maganda at gwapo. Dahil iisang lahi po tayo, and that is the value of humanity. We owe it to our ancestors and to our descendants that we remain kind to one another. Mapagmalasakit po tayong mga Pilipino. Pilipino tayo, maka-Diyos at makatao. Iisa lang rin po ang ating pangarap at yan po ay ipaangat ang antas ng pamumuhay ng bawat isa. Kaya muli, magandang umaga po at maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Congressman J.C. Abalon.
Congressman Jonathan Clement Abalos, Congresswoman Maria Belmonda, Ms. Eliza Libanan Gonzalez representing Congressman Nonoy Libanan, Vice Governor Maricar Sison Gutisan representing Governor Benny Bardone, and as well as officials of the provincial government, Mayor Analisa Gonzalez Juan, and officials of Guiuan, officers and men of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police, and the Bureau of Fire Protection, guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, maupay nga aga ha aton nga tanan. We are gathered here today at the Veterans Park in Barangay Ngolos on Calikuan Island, Guiuan, Eastern Samar, to commemorate the 502nd anniversary of the arrival on Samar Island of the Magellan Elcano expedition on March 16, 1921. In the years before the COVID-19 pandemic, this date was commemorated as the discovery of the Philippines, quote unquote, with the program and ceremonies usually held on Humonhon Island. But with the coming of the National Quincentennial commemorations in 2021, of the Philippine part in the first circumnavigation of the world 500 years ago, the related historical events in Guiuan, Eastern Samar in 1521 were realigned according to their occurrences as mentioned in the primary sources. These events are also started to be viewed according to the perspective of the natives, and no longer the Western one that had made their way into our textbooks. Although Humonhon retained its importance in our history, two other sequential events in the Guiuan area needed to be recognized, which the National Quincentennial Committee did in 2021. March 16, 1521, which was previously regarded as the date of the discovery of the Philippines, was more importantly the beginning of our ancestors' contribution to the first circumnavigation of the world, which was considered a monumental achievement of science and humanity in world history. For the quincentennial year, a major project pursued by the National Quincentennial Committee was the installation and unveiling of 34 national quincentennial markers in different places of the future Philippines that were mentioned in the Pigafetta account of the Magellan-Elcano expedition. 3 of these markers were unveiled here in Guiuan in March 2021. The one for Samar was unveiled here in Calikuan. The second for Suluan was unveiled on that island. And the third for Humonhon was also unveiled on that island. Let me focus on the first national quincentennial marker for Samar, which was unveiled here by President Rodrigo Duterte on March 18, 2021. This marker. Although Samar was the biggest among the 7 islands that Pigafetta illustrated for the original archipelago of San Lazaro, his narrative account did not provide details of the arrival here. The details were provided by 2 pilots of the expedition. The unnamed Genoese pilot mentioned that they reached our islands here at approximately 11 degrees north latitude, here in this area. But another pilot, Francisco Albo, mentioned that when they saw the land trended north, and there were many shoals and coral reefs near it, they sailed toward another small island in the south, Suluan, where they anchored for the night on its western side. Suluan is some 30 kilometers south from this part of Calikuan. There is something both coincidental and historical about 11 degrees north latitude on this island. In December 1696, some 175 years after the coming of the Magellan-Elcano expedition, there also arrived on this area some 30 drifters in 2 sailboats from the Pacific Ocean. They called themselves Palaos, and they were drifted west without seeing any land for some 70 days until they reached here. They were sailing home from the island of Lamotrec to the island of Pais in the present Micronesia when a storm blew them off course. A modern recreation of their adventure shows that they were carried west by the Pacific currents for about 1,650 kilometers, the distance from Batanes in the north to Basilan in the south over a period of 70 days. A visiting Jesuit missionary, Father Paul Klein, interviewed these Palau drifters in early 1697. Using stones of various sizes, they showed the location of 87 islands in the wide ocean where they came from, 32 of which they had been visited by or some of them. The map drawn by the Jesuit in Guiuan was later sent to the King of Spain and the Pope and was used to support the official claim as territory of Spain, the Pacific island that would be called the Caroline Islands, which they also called the New Philippines. So the New Philippines was added because of an incident here in Guiuan. Caroline Islands, now Micronesia. A number of these islands, including those of the present Republic of Palau, would only be reached by Spanish explorers for the first time in 1710, at least 15 years after they were reported by the drifters here. The Palaus drifters in Guiuan were baptized as Christians and given the family name of Dagsa, literally drifters. Many of their descendants still live here in Barangay Ngolos, but on the western side. The third historical event on this place happened during World War II after the late landing of the Allied forces led by General Douglas MacArthur on October 20, 1944. The entire Guiuan area was made into a U.S. military base. The U.S. Naval Depot was established here on Calikuan to support the Allied war efforts before the surrender of Japan. The shoals and coral reefs off the eastern shore were extracted by military engineers to make the sea deeper and allowed the approach of U.S. landing crafts for the discharge of their cargoes. The extracted minerals from the sea were used as landfill for the Guiuan airport, the road here, that would serve as base for the U.S. military planes. The U.S. military base in Guiuan was abandoned a few years after the war, and Caloocan Island became quiet again. However, in recent decades, this place was remembered for its contribution to the war efforts. The Veterans Park was developed here and provided with the corresponding facilities. I understand World War II related programs and ceremonies are held here. And then starting in 2021, there started the commemoration of the start of the Philippine part in the Philippine first circumnavigation of the world in 1521. The Veterans Park here on Caloocan Island stands on an area that is itself a veteran of hosting key local events in the past that had helped shape the national history of the Philippines. Damo nga salamat nga maupay nga agahaton nga tanan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rolando Borinaga.